agenda for today, the review that we are having is lesson 4, leading the project team, leading the team. Now that Devi said, well, there are 7 topics in this lesson. There are 7 topics as part of this lesson. I said, well, it's very important to see these topics in this perspective here. Let's say x-axis is the timeline of a project, life cycle of a project from starting or initiate to planning, executing, and closing. So this is the life cycle. This topic has 7 topics. And it's very important to see these 7 topics, or lesson 4, which has 7 topics, must be seen in this perspective. So let's see what perspective are we talking about. So we'll say must be seen in this perspective. These topics apply to the entire life cycle. However, last week we said the rigor of these topics, the rigor is high during executing. So if the question was, why is the rigor high during executing? Why is the rigor high during executing? The answer is very simple. The answer is most resources are applied during executing of the project. So the rigor of leading the project team, demonstrating and tailoring our leadership skills, and the idea of creating collaborative environment, empowering the team, that rigor must be very, very high during executing, because we want to provide a playground to the team in which they can succeed. And leadership is that quality that helps us create that environment for the team. And I use the word playground, the environment in the team in which they would play this project, play this game called project. And they will play this game called project, and the time of execution it will lead to delivering those successful outcomes that generate value. That's the idea of this lesson, lesson 4, those 7 topics. So because we've been going through lessons as lesson 2 being planning the project, lesson 2 being starting the project, lesson 3 being planning the project. Lesson 4, some people treat it as executing, and it's not fair to do so. Lesson 4 is about leading the project team to deliver value. And these 7 ideas, these 7 topics, PMI says that, well, these are the 7 ideas that we must use as project managers. We must apply as project managers. We must create an environment where our project team will succeed. And this is what this lesson is all about, right? Don't treat this as a lesson after planning, thinking that this is executing and it's happening in sequential order. After planning, the project team moves into executing the project. And during executing, project managers will demonstrate certain skills. Project managers will ensure that certain environment is created for the project team, and the goal is execution. It's all about creating the deliverable, and this is the time we want to take this rigor of leadership to the highest level, right? So PMI goes about topic A, and last week we went about this topic in detail. So topic A, which was PMI says craft your leadership style. Now, craft, I don't know if it's the right choice of word. We could say tailor and demonstrate. Demonstrate. Sorry, it's the skills. Demonstrate your leadership skills. Tailor and demonstrate your leadership skills. So one of the important concepts that you will get tested on the exam is if you want to tailor your leadership skills, important component is one of the very important component is use or apply the most appropriate leadership style. We talked about it in detail that day. We should use or apply the most appropriate leadership style while valuing servant leadership. Extremely important from exam standpoint. We should know those 5 ideas of servant leadership. And you know what? Because this is a review today and I will be sending this recording, I want this to be extremely valuable. So I'm also going to write down what are those 5, or last week I said there's 6 ideas now. 6 ideas of servant leadership, right? What are those 6 objectives that we are trying to achieve by using servant leadership? So PMI says use the most appropriate leadership style while continuing to value servant leadership, right? Use the most appropriate leadership style. Now, there were different kinds of leadership styles. Last week we said there are different kinds of leadership styles. And it's not one is better than other, right? Apply the right kind of leadership style. You could be working in an industry or environment where direct leadership style may be the most suited style. This is the style. And direct, and let's say decisions. So direct leadership style, and if we said, let's just clean this up a little bit. Well, let's talk about this. So we'll say leadership. I'll say there is this style called direct leadership, number 1. And the idea is, who makes the decision here? Who makes the decision? In direct leadership style, PM makes the decision. Exam question on this. So it's not fair to say, well, direct is a bad leadership style. No, they would be working in industry. You could be in a situation on a project where this might be the most appropriate style. Then there is number 2. We talked about it last week. We said consultative leadership style. And he said the leader will, so the PM here will factor team's opinion, but in the end, make the decision. But they would consider or factor opinions of the team, right? Opinions of the team. Now then comes third, which we said value this phase, servant leadership. Again, we'll continue to say that the idea is not which one should I apply. Look at the situation and use the right kind of leader, apply the most appropriate leadership style. Servant leadership, those 5 traits of a servant leader, we'll talk about them very shortly. Number 4, it's consensus, and this is what consensus or collaborative. In servant leadership, who makes the decision? If we said who makes the decision in servant leadership, we'll go here and we'll make an arrow from, oh, sorry, we'll take a black color here and erase this. So in who makes the decision when it comes to servant leadership is the team. PM is facilitating. Then consensus or collaborative style. Who makes the decision? PMP exam question. It is the team. Team works in an autonomous fashion. Keep this in mind. Project team makes the local project decision. Project team, they will make the local project decisions. Now, number 5, has no leadership style actually. We cannot say number 5 is a leadership style. Situational. The idea is use the most appropriate style. You could use direct, you could use consultative, you could use servant leadership, you could use consensus or collaborative leadership style in which the team will operate autonomously. So if in the exam you got a question, which is the most suitable style? Situational. Go situational. It kind of like factors in everything. Based on the situation, based on the stakeholders or your audience, use the appropriate leadership style while always valuing servant leadership, right? Servant leadership is being of service to the team. Now, servant leader or servant leadership. So let's talk about servant leadership a little bit. Servant leadership. And right, so don't worry, I'm going to give you an opportunity to ask me questions. I also want to cover content a little bit, but I will give you an opportunity to ask me questions here, right? Servant leadership, we've talked about numerous times in our sessions now. So number 1, shield the team. Shield the team from external interferences. Anything. So external interferences, shield the team from external interferences. What does that mean? What it means is that if you are the servant leader and one of your team member is constantly getting emails or request for information from stakeholders, as a leader, as a servant leader, as an agile coach, it is your responsibility to shield your team member a little bit and take those responsibilities which are around providing information, statuses, etc., to the stakeholders on yourself. Because the goal of a team is to ensure, or our role as an agile coach, servant leader, or you could say an agile PM, is to ensure that the team has an unobstructed path to doing work. And if there are these interferences that are coming from various stakeholders, what would happen? The time that should have been spent creating the deliverable of the project would be spent sending out a request. And if you're working in a time box, that will create risk of not delivering what was promised. That's the idea here, right? Shielding the team. Then there is remove impediments. Removing impediments or blockers. Then facilitate and let the team be, because the team is self-directing and self-organizing. Team will make the local project decisions. Team doesn't need no direction here. Then we have coach and mentor the team and the stakeholders, team and the stakeholders on agile principles and values. Or we could say values and principles. Values actually should come first. And finally, celebrate team accomplishments. These are some of the traits of a servant leader, right? And now they start saying, well, not just these, but also as a servant leader, we must create an environment where more leaders are created. Or the idea of emergent leadership. Emergent leadership. Leadership. So that's servant leadership for us, and we've discussed that in our session numerous times. The PMI says, well, the idea of tailoring your leadership style, right, or your leadership skills. This topic A, the idea of tailoring leadership skills, has a lot to do with this topic A. It has a lot to do with adopting a growth mindset. Adopting a growth mindset. And when I say growth mindset, it means team away, steer the team away from fixed and fear mindset and take them to more learning and growth mindset. Learning and growth mindset. Steer the team away from fixed and fear mindset and take them towards learning and drive them towards learning and growth mindset. Ensure innovation happens. And trust me, innovation will only happen when we will use historical artifacts or experiences, historical or past artifacts or experiences as just or mere guidance. And don't let these direct your current actions. Direct, or you could say dictate your current actions, right? The idea is, when we say fixed and fair mindset, it's about avoiding being complacent, and the idea of blind acceptance, right? They said this, so we would follow it too. Sometimes also called herd mentality. Then we talked about Tuckman's ladder as part of topic, and I gave you all those notes. Tuckman's ladder or stages of team development. I'd given you all those different stages, and I'm not going to get into that. But this is what I'll tell you. One of the exam questions, 100% PMP exam question. 100% PMP exam question. So forming, storming, norming, performing, and adjourning, sometimes called death, or even mourning. right? So forming, storming, norming, performing, and adjourning. Let's say your team is progressing through this stage. So your team is progressing through this stage right here. Progressing through the stages. They're here right now. They're somewhere here. The team has gotten to performing stage. There are 22 team members, and now at this stage, a new member, a new stakeholder, or a new team member is added. What happens? What happens is teams falls back. Team, it falls back to forming stage. However, because they're becoming that interdependent unit, they're able to coach and mentor the new team member, bring them up to speed, and they go back to the same stage again. But a PMP exam question, you are in performing stage right now, and one of a new team member just added the team. What stage would the team fall? Which stage would the team be now? The team will fall back to forming. It could be anywhere in this in this stage of team development, right? It could be anywhere. Whenever a new team member is added, you don't fall to the previous stage, you fall back to the first stage, forming. Keep that in mind. That is a PMP exam question. Another question on the PMP exam is from here is, at what stage team has become not independent, but interdependent. They are a cohesive unit and at their optimum best. Answer, the stage is called performing. This is also one of the exam questions. Couple of exam questions that have been seen from here, and this is another exam question. Right, so this is what we went through that day, and of course we talked about virtual teams from exam standpoint. Whenever they talk about virtual teams, they're generally talking about this idea of engagement. The reason is virtual teams have same goals and aspirations as co-located teams. If the goals and aspirations are the same, then why disparity, right? Why disparity? They should feel engaged. They should feel supported so that the risk of feeling isolated can be managed, right? The idea is, how can we instill a sense of shared commitment among our team members? That's the idea here. And for PMI, one of the question is around challenge. The greatest challenge with virtual team is communication. And how do you overcome this? The greatest challenge with virtual team. Greatest challenge with virtual team. How can we overcome it? How can we overcome it? By using communication, the right communication technology. And last week I said constantly paraphrasing, constantly summarizing, and ensuring that expectations have been understood, right? The greatest challenge is communication. And sometimes due to this lack of or misunderstanding of expectations, the team is not able to produce something of value, right? Commitments or some of the expectations are not met. How can we avoid that? We can avoid it by constantly paraphrasing, constantly and consistently communicating to the team, and ensuring that that team understands what the expectations are, right? So it's very, very, very important from exam standpoint, this idea. Now, topic B was creating a collaborative team environment. Whether you're working in predictive projects or you're working in adaptive projects, both approaches, or you could say hybrid, which is leaning adaptive to some extent. In all the approaches, whatever approach is being used in your organization, any approach, it is extremely important to ensure that we create an environment of co-location. And when an environment of co-location is created, folks, you know what happens? There is constant learning. And this is what leads to building of cross-functional teams. The reason cross-functional teams are formed, you assemble the team, you cannot expect them to be cross-functional. When you assemble them, you cannot expect them to be cross-functional. So how do they become cross-functional? How are some organization or some leadership, they are able to create these teams where team members are becoming more like journalizing specialists? How is it happening? It's happening because of a collaborative work environment where there is constant learning, where which is leading to actually cross-pollination, and cross-pollination is what is leading to building of cross-functional teams, right? And collaborative environment. So what is a collaborative environment? If we wrote down here, what is or what constitutes a collaborative environment? So let's highlight this for the benefit of everyone in the class. Topic B. Some important things from exam standpoint. Collaborative environment is important. It is important because we want our teams to be cross-functional. Teams become cross-functional when there is constant learning that is going on. So what is a collaborative environment? First of all, I'm using a different technology today to write. How does it look like? Is this better than PowerPoint? What do you guys think? Let's take some, because tomorrow I'll be using this somewhere. What do you guys think?
No, this works. It's work. It's clear and there's no lag.
No, there's no lag, but what do you think about the writing? Is it neat enough for everyone to read?
Better.
Yes,
Looks great.
Yeah, I'm working on it.
Thank
I've
you.
been working on it, right? I've been constantly working on it. As thought is continuously there, that people send an email to me. They said, there was such a great session, but if you could get your notes. And I always wonder, people could send the note, my notes would go to people and they would spend so much time thinking about what happened. So I'm just trying to use some technology where there is a flow in content, rather than using PowerPoint. So I'm using a new product. Let me just take some feedback. Awesome, great, good to know. So what is the collaborative environment? Collaborative environment is an environment where, number one, meaningful interactions can take place. Meaningful interactions can happen or take place. That's what is a collaborative environment. As PMs, as agile coaches, as servant leader, it is our responsibility to ensure that we give our teams an environment where there is communication with no lag. That's one. Second, meaningful interaction can happen. And let's also write down communication with no lag. Ideally, no lag. I mean, it's not always possible to have communication with in real time. It's not possible, right? But ideal is, well, let's try to make it as real time as possible. In project management, let's try to make our communication, that is one thing that we control, as real time as possible. Now, real time just does not mean physically co-located. Sometimes people start thinking about real time means when there is no lag at all, right? Even lag of, now look at this, even lag of 2 to 5 seconds that we experienced last time, it made the experience. It caused, to me, it was like, oh, it's actually it's so disruptive for everyone. Bad experience, poor experience, right? That 5-second lag. Imagine decisions need to be made about, let's say, a decision which will have a cumulative effect of about, let's say, $3 million. And you send an email. That decision needs to be made quickly. And you send an email on Friday evening at 5. You can't expect to get a decision by on Monday morning. You can't have that, right? So in those circumstances, looking for opportunities based on the nature of communication, how urgent it is, it is important to use the right technology, right medium to communicate with stakeholders, right? What is a collaborative environment? Collaborative environment is an environment where meaningful interactions which can take place. Ideally, communication with no lag. Then collaborative environment is also an environment where teams know the ground rules. Teams, they know the ground rules and they respect them. Extremely, extremely, extremely important. And all of us know where the team norms, where the ground rules, where the conflict resolution techniques, where the decision making techniques are hosted, and they are documented in an artifact called Team Charter. Publish the Team Charter, make it readily available. Don't just create a team charter because your project environment or your PMO warrants it, or because it is a mandate from the PMO, project management office. Don't just create a charter because of that. Make charter a medium of communication when it comes to team norms, ground rules, conflict resolution methods, decision-making methods. Make it readily available, and as and when a new team member joins, publish it to them. Direct them towards the team charter so that they understand the ground rules and the teams respect it also. And collaborative environments, I'll actually mark it as red. Number 4, co-location is the key. That's why such high stress on teams going back to being called back to work. RBC Bank CEO has gone to the extent of saying that we have never been this unproductive. There is lack of, so the words, if I were to quote, were lack of productivity and lack of creativity. It's at its bottom low. It is at its lowest ever. So they started with a day, then they quickly went to 2 days. Now they're up to 3, moving to 4 very, very shortly. So, so that's right. So collocation, if possible, is the key. Teams can also be virtually co-located, and virtual co-location can be experienced by using certain technology. Virtual co-location, things such as fishbowl, using technology, right? Fishbowl. Now, in agile environment, and collaborative environment is also, if I were to say one more, we can add one more here in blue. Red is the, it's about openness, transparency, and honesty. So just by doing all of the things, it won't work. We'll have to also ensure that there is openness, visibility for everyone, honesty, and transparency. Now, agile teams, though, and these are some of the exam questions, folks, agile teams, the idea has always been co-location. Because think about a sprint 1 to 4 weeks, right? Think about a sprint 1 to 4 weeks, and you can expect teams to be geographically dispersed and make decisions and be able to make quick decisions, right? So to reduce that lag in communication due to the time period of an iteration or a sprint, which is 1 to 4 weeks, co-location is the mandate most of the times on agile approaches, teams that are using agile approaches, co-location. But even if they are distributed, they have created an environment of virtual co-location. Even if the team is distributed, they have kind of like created an environment of virtual co-location. Now, in agile environment, there are some terminology that is used. One of them is called commons. Other is called caves. Caves and commons. What does that mean? Ideal team, all teams work in a co-located fashion, and commons is, well, a war room where everyone sit together, or a pod where team members are sitting together in a common area so that they can have constant communication among them, right? Commons, that's where agile teams sit. But just because you are an agile team, it doesn't mean that you won't need some private time. You won't need some personal space, right? We want our team to be here working in this common area together. But if there are times when you quickly want to have a chat with someone for 2 minutes, or you want to take a private call, or you want to, or sometimes some of us, or actually most of us, need time to think about the work that we are doing. So some private spaces called caves have been created, right? So in the exam, you will find some questions such as, what are the team members said, well, can we not have private spaces for us in agile environment? The project manager said, well, we'll continue to have commons, but here you go. We got some couple of areas which are private spaces. You could go there and work, but we want our team to continue working in in this area, commons area, the war room, the parts, the squads, or whatever an organization may call them, right? So then collaboration, another very important thing that PMI likes to talk about, collaboration, using collaboration by providing effective information systems. This is very, very, very important, information systems. And I'm going to highlight it in yellow. This will be a 100 percentile exam question.
How would that question be proposed in an exam?
Yeah, let's talk about that. So the question would be something like this. So first, let's explain information systems, and then we will talk about the format or the nature of the question, right? So let's talk about this next topic first, and this next topic is this next topic revolves around a concept called information life cycle. As project managers, as those folks who work in an environment called project environment, all of us on a day-to-day basis continue to deal with information. We manage information, we relay information. That's one of the very important tasks that we have, especially as PMs. So what organizations have done is that they have created, collection of information system. And this collection of information systems could be MS Suite, such as Word, Excel, PowerPoint, etc., etc. It could be Confluence if you're working on an IT-based project, a tool called Confluence, an application called Confluence. It could be Jira, another project management and defect management system. It could be in CIBC, they use a tool called Top Teams for requirement management. It could be this suite of tools that organization provides us, could be MS Project for project planning. It could be in construction industry, Primavera. It could be Adobe Suite. And it could be any other business application that you use on a day-to-day basis to process or access information. So one of the important things that PMI introduced, and they call it PMIS. What does that mean? It means project management information system. PMIS. So what is PMIS? PMIS is collection of these different information systems that help you manage information. And when we say manage information, what does that mean? So let's say here, PMIS. There we go. What do we mean when we say manage information? This is your PMIS, Project Management Information System. Now we'll say, what is the format of the question in the PMP exam? So PMI would say, well, a collection of various systems that would help collect, analyze, store, distribute, archive, and dispose or destruct information. And what you see in arrows here, collection, analysis, storage, distribution, archival, and disposition or destruction of information. What I highlighted in yellow right now is what is information lifecycle. As PMs, as teams, what do? We collect information. We analyze information. We store it maybe in our local drives. We distribute the meaningful information to our stakeholder. We archive in organizational repositories if required, and if the information has the nature where it needs to be disposed or destruct, we do so too, right? This is the life cycle of information, from collection to destruction of information, and all the tools that you have been given. Now, if you just paused for a second and thought about all the different tools that you use to share information in the morning. Now this could be like this. Let's see if I can maximize my screen. And I could give you an example from one of us. So let's say Stacy works for an organization as a project coordinator. Stacy in the morning logs in, puts in a username and password. The moment she puts in a username and password, she has probably access to Word, Excel, PowerPoint. Someone working in a contact center maybe doesn't have access to Word, Excel, and PowerPoint because these are licenses. She has access to Visio. She has access to project management software. It could be Clarity PPM at TD. It could be Primavera at City of Hamilton. It could be at Ford, another project management software. At Tesla, it could be their own project management software, and any other device or any other system that helps them process information, including the business applications. The whole idea has always been collect, analyze, store, like I would store information in my computer before I distribute it. When I distribute it and everyone approves it, I'll archive it in an organizational repository and turn it into an organizational process asset. And finally, if it is of no use, or if the information is of certain nature, I may also destruct or dispose information. And that's what is life cycle. So someone said, well, what could be the nature of question on the exam? How would PMI propose a question? The question would be, well, you're using those collection of systems that are being provided to you based on your access and authority in the organization, and you're using these systems to collect, analyze, store, distribute, destruct information. What are these called? The answer is PMIS. Why have people not been able to answer a simple question like that? First of all, they didn't know what PMIS was. They just memorized this. Oh, there's something called PMIS. And what does it do? People had no clue. Now you all know what is the purpose of all these different tools that you have access to. Information, and managing information in the life cycle of information, right? So that is the nature of question. People have generally confused this with PMO. I don't know why. PMIS is a critical part of PMO. A good PMO will provide you PMIS, Project Management Information System, collection of systems that will help you communicate effectively, manage information effectively, right? So I hope that I answered that question there.
Yes.
Okay, right? Okay. So SharePoint is a PMIS. any system that you use for artifacts is a PMIS. On my computer today, I was using Adobe, that's a PMIS. Anything that helps you manage information is part of those collection of systems called PMIS, Project Management Information System. Then PMI goes on to talk about, as part of topic B, we are still in topic B. PMI goes on to talk about, let's change color to something, artifacts. And one of the interesting things that I found in the literature here is that they said artifacts help create or change it. Artifacts help reconstruct history. Artifacts help reconstruct history. And I actually want to sue my school system because they have given me history books that were created in the courts of emperors and kings and queens, and all the information that was shared with me has been distorted because no one could challenge the king and their authority and write something against them. So history kind of like presents a king in a certain manner, right? Unless and until someone went and kind of like played with the artifacts. Otherwise, generally, his history or the artifacts that have been presented to us may not lead to reconstruction of history, right? Only to the extent the information has been provided, but the integrity and the honesty in documenting the information can very well be challenged, considering the authoritative nature in those times, the lack of transparency. But now in project environment, we have an opportunity to be as transparent as possible with our status reports, keep them as recent and current as possible. That's our job, right? In this new age. So artifacts, they help reconstruct history of project. So they better be as current as possible. So they better be as accurate as possible. So they better be with the one authoritative version always, right? It should not be like today, we have 20 versions floating around. Someone is reading version B, someone is using version C. Maintain, so artifacts help reconstruct history. And our job is to present it in a transparent fashion, our artifacts in a transparent fashion, so that decisions can be made. Also, so that other teams can use them in a other teams can use the artifacts that you and your team created so that they could learn some lessons and put some prevention methods in place, right? That is the idea of artifacts. So PMI talks about artifact management system, version control. We all know what this is, right? Version control. If you check in a document, I can only read it. I cannot write to that document. Simple, easy philosophy. So that was all topic B. Artifacts, importance of artifacts, and why store artifacts for future project teams so that they are able to look at some of the repository of knowledge that your projects have created, especially looking at lesson document to understand what were some of the failures, looking at those failures and putting the right kind of preventive measures in their projects, right? So that was all our artifacts. Topic C. Let's align everything here. Topic B. And topic A. Okay. Topic C is about ensuring that you are bestowing the decision making authority to the team. Or topic B is about empowering the team. Empowering the team is when you pass on the decision-making authority to the team, and the team becomes that interdependent, cohesive, and autonomous team. Interdependent, cohesive, and autonomous team, right? Empowering the team. We have talked about this in detail in our sessions. Empowered teams are those teams that make, so let's one more time, okay, let's say here, empowered teams. Empowered teams are teams that are self-directing, self-organizing, and motivated. Self-directing because they require no direction. Self-directing. Self-organizing because they do not need to be told the work, or they do not need to be informed about the work. They do not need to be told about the work. About the work they need to do. And motivated teams are those teams that believe. And the belief system comes because the PMs are constantly communicating the vision to them. It is not an event, it is a process. It is not an event, it is a process. Right here. It is not an event, it is a process. And that's what empowered teams are, right? Empowered teams, they have this, so empowered teams have this sense of ownership about work, sense of ownership about work. And you want teams where there is this sense of ownership, where they will make decisions in a collaborative fashion, where there will be shared responsibility, right? And the idea is empowered teams are those teams which will always, which these teams, empowered teams will always prioritize teams' unity over individual contributions. This idea of one rock star, right? The idea of one rock star in the team. That is not going to take anyone anywhere nowadays. Even if you look at the Euro Cup that's going on, if you see a top team losing, the top team is losing not because they didn't have chances. The top team is losing because there is this one person who is not thinking about team's unity and wants to steal that evening for themselves, right? Instead of passing a clear ball to, if you were watching Euro Cup, you will see many instances where you will wonder, why would this person not pass it to teammate? They were standing right at the goal mouth with the goalkeeper, and they were not offside. So why would they not? You wonder. Classic example in project management. We've got to create a culture where teams, they work together, they prioritize team's unity over individual contributions, and of course it's all about the autonomous team, right? But I wrote it down here. The idea of a power team is this team which is autonomous. So keep that in mind. Very, very important. Self-directing, self-organizing from exam standpoint. And then Dave must have driven you through the different what were they called, the management approaches, the motivational approaches or theories. He must talk to you about Maslow's theory. Some of the things are on the exam, so you need to know all the theories. One of the famous theory is McGregor's theory of X and Y. You need to know all these theories. What is McClellan's theory of motivation? What are the different levels of Maslow's theory? All of us, guys, we all took the notes for theories.
Yes, we did.
Yes.
Right? Dave knows those to the back of his hand. He puts them really nicely for everyone. Wherever we go, I mean, that is one thing that he presents. So awesome, amazing. So any questions? So let's stall for a second. We'll go for another 40 minutes, I guess. Let's stall for a second, but we want to take some questions. I find this lesson to be self-explanatory. There is no such rocket science behind this lesson, but I could feel that, someone else could feel that, but some of you may have questions. So please go ahead and ask me questions if you have any questions.
I have just a general question.
Sure.
Is the exam all multiple choice, or is there any sort of essay style questions?
Okay, very good question. So PMP exam. PMP exam is a 180 question exam, and this is multiple choice. Most of the questions are 2 to 3 lines. They made it easy. It won't be easy after September though, right? So 2 to 3 lines questions. And people have generally felt that how many multiple choice, how many options? A, B, C, and D, 4 options. And you got to complete it in 3 hours and 50 minutes. And we'll talk about it in the last session one more time to provide you details. So it's a multiple choice question. There is no such thing like they will give you a case study on top and then you have to answer 6 or 7 questions. There's nothing like that. Each question is independent and atomic in nature. It provides you all the information, and that information is not carried forward to any other question. Does that answer your question and curb your curiosity about the exam a little bit?
Definitely. The other question I had was at what point, because so obviously it's after September that the exam is going to change. So I'm just wondering at what point should we be registering and booking the exam?
So Stacy, to answer that question and for the benefit of everyone, right? The day we finish our course, right? The day we finish our course, that's the time to seriously put that date on the calendar. Ideally, that date should be 30 days or 35 days after the course finishes, because that's the time you need to integrate all the knowledge. But that same doesn't apply for people who are doing CAPM exam. CAPM exam 10 to 15 days after we have finished the course, right? But for all the people who are doing PMP certification, I would strongly suggest that we after the course is done. And then it is time now for you to dedicate about 25 to 30 days towards preparation, attempting as many multiple, as long as you attempt 600 questions, you're good to go. Actually, you're golden. 600 questions, approximately 600 questions, and we'll provide you those questions, right? So
you're going to provide the questions?
absolutely.
Oh, that's
Practice
great.
questions, yes.
I feel better
Yeah.
already.
Yeah. So, we say 600 questions is more than enough. We'll provide those questions to the class. Now we always say that some people will be like, I want to do 2,000 questions. Why? Or do you want to spend your life doing these questions? Or what's your agenda, right? It's very important to be focused. And I personally feel 600 questions, when you got yourself, you attempted them once, you've kind of like gone through them twice, you have read these five decks or six decks, 6 lessons, 6 decks. These are PowerPoint decks, right? PMI did not write a book for us. So you've read it once or twice, once in the course, once you practice at home. After that, you've integrated everything together and read it maybe once, for some twice. You're good to go, right? Yeah, we'll provide those questions. Absolutely.
Hi, Iman. The 600 questions you just referred to, are they going to be provided to us after this course, or is it part of the sprint?
No, it'll be provided to you immediately after the day course ends. I think that same day, those 380 questions are given. And if you feel that you need to practice more, you can always send an email to the team and they will give you one more. Why not, right? The goal is to pass the PMP exam. The goal has never been to get people into sprint. Sprint is an idea, right, that I created. And the reason was, can we keep a group together? Because what we used to find was that people would, I'm not supposed to be discussing all that right now. It's already 8:45, but I'm going to answer your question during me. So sprint, the idea of sprint was to give it a collective approach, collective goal. That was the goal. It has worked, right? But there are some people who have focused really hard. They have studied really, really hard during the course. They've been constantly scoring 75, 80% on both the exams. For them, take those 380 question exams, see how you're doing, report your scores to us, and let us know, well, I attempted the 3 exams and I'm feeling like I scored about 68 to 72%. Let us provide you the guidance at that time to say, well, how about we send you one more, or I think you're good to go. Let's write the exam, right? Yeah, the day we finish the course, we'll send those 380 question exams. But if you felt that I want to do one more, it's a matter of an email. And that email will come to you and you can just say, well, Hemant, I'm looking for, could you please send me one more question? I'll tell the team, well, send them one more question, one set of questions. Okay? Good?
Okay, yeah, thank you.
Okay, all right, guys. So, good question. Any other question about exam? We can yeah, go ahead.
Hemant?
Yes.
How much do we need to pass? Is it 50% or is it more than that?
On the PMP exam?
Correct.
Okay, so I think it's Ali who asked, Ali or Shanawaz? Shanawaz asked.
Shanawaz, yeah.
Shanawaz, the answer to that question is no one knows what that passing score on PMP exam is. However, based on what we have seen and how people have done on the exams.
Remember, I came to ask you for a hug. Did you give me a hug when I asked?
All right. So
she's talking to you, Hemant.
Oh shit! Sorry, I didn't realize I was muted. I'm sorry.
She's talking to you, Hemant.
yeah. Okay. All right. So sorry. So
I'm sorry, guys. Sorry.
No worries. It's okay. There we go. We lost that chain of thought, but here you go. Yeah. So yeah, no one knows actually what that score has been, Shanavaz, but we feel at this time that this is anywhere between 61 to 63%. And when your score starts hitting the 68 percentile on those 180 question exam or 65 percentile, we feel very confident in asking people to go write the exam. Okay. Yeah. So it's not 50% for sure. It's anywhere between 61 to 63, 64%. And the moment, let's say you wrote a 180 question exam and you got 55%, trust me, you don't have to be worried. go review the answers. Dave and I never were able to score over 60% on any of the exams. Well, but what we were good at was every time we wrote an exam, we didn't jump to the second exam. We ensured that all the gaps that we had, all the wrong questions that we had, we answered it. And we kind of like went through all the questions, looked it into those 5 or 6 decks. During our days, it used to be the PMBOK guide. So in your case, you will look into the deck, see where those responses are, review that material, and there you go, right? You are 80 percentile now. So don't worry about getting 55% or 80% on our exam. 80 is good, but if you got 55, that's okay too. The only thing is, instead of moving to the next exam, you're going to dedicate next 3 days reviewing your wrong answers, right? That is the key in passing this exam. Okay, all right. So let's keep moving. This was topic C. I'll take more questions. I can stay here for some more time. And then
yeah. So since you said if you do those practice exams will be golden, so are you saying the actual exam is the same questions as the practice exam? Is that what you're saying?
Sorry, who is that question?
That's still me, Sean was.
So Shanawaz, if we had a brain dump, we would still not provide it to people, right? It takes away from the integrity of the whole idea of a certification, especially a certification of this level of this magnitude and this importance and repute that PMI is. We want to maintain the integrity. So that's for second. Our questions, because they have been designed based on the feedback that we get from our students, some people say that once we practice these exams and address our gaps, they have felt that, I would not use the word mimic the PMP exam, but they say the concepts have been pretty close, right? Especially think about it like this: practice 800 questions. You are definitely going to get 60 or 70 from there, right? 60, 70 questions straight. You will feel, oh, well, I know this, because you practice so many questions. That's the thing, right? But there is no brain dump for PMP exam. If someone says, well, they have a brain dump, I'm sorry, they don't. No one has it.
Okay, thank you.
All right. All righty. Okay. There we go. So, one of the things that PMI likes to test everyone on is this. So let's go to topic D. And it's about supporting project teams' performance. Supporting project team performance, topic D. So so PMI talks about here the idea of team performance is provide feedback and take feedback. Be respectful, be polite. Number one, right? If you are in a position of authority where you will be providing feedback to your team members, be respectful. Number one, be polite. It's very important. Now comes the feedback. As a PM, we'll have to provide feedback on the performance of our team members, right? So this is something that we need to do. And it's so important as a PM. It is our ability to have crucial conversations. This is one of our abilities. And we should not delegate this authority to anyone. You can't delegate this authority of having crucial conversations with your team member. And that crucial conversation sometimes is feedback. Provide feedback in a timely fashion. Provide both negative and positive feedback. Right? So it's not be by I'll deliver the good news, but I'll not be the messenger of the delivery of bad news. Both feedback. Do it in a timely fashion. The goal of feedback is to ensure that improvement happens. Right? We want to provide feedback because we want to see some improvement. So provide feedback based on performance. And when you provide feedback, sometimes clarify and re-clarify roles. This is such a critical aspect. People sometimes are doing less or more because they feel that their role does not mandate more, right? Because of the lack of clarity around what they should be doing. So as a project manager, when we are providing feedback, sometimes it's also good to ask questions such as, do you know the mandate, the boundary of the role? Maybe I should explain it to you, right? Sometimes people do more, they think that's their role, but it is not. It is somebody else's role. Sometimes people are doing less because they feel that everything else is outside the mandate. Clarify and re-clarify the roles. One of the, sometimes you're constantly giving feedback and seeing why things are improving because people do not even have awareness about the work that they need to do. So, and feedback should also lead to establishing future goals. Provide feedback, good, bad, ensure that it leads to improvement. Establish future goal for that specific team member if there is a need. And most important, sometimes it's very important to clarify and re-clarify roles and responsibility of an individual. They may feel work is in their mandate, it may not be, and they may feel work is not in their mandate, it may be. So both ways, right? So feedback. So feedback leading with empathy is extremely important. The new idea of PMP exam is empathy. The idea of putting yourself in somebody else's shoes. Empathy, lead with empathy, right? Ensure that you understand the challenges, the problems that people are facing, and go out there to listen to people and resolve those. One of the very, very, very important traits of servant leaders, leading with empathy. Empathy is demonstrating empathy, and nowadays such a high stress on emotional intelligence due to the constraint today of time. I wanted to actually talk to you about the quadrants of emotional intelligence, but I think I'm going to keep this as an agenda for myself. One more time, Dave must have talked about it, but I want to give you my take on emotional intelligence, and we will talk about it on my Saturday session, or something that we will talk about there, and then we'll see, right? So topic, yeah, last week we were talking about this. We said, it's topic D, one of the important thing. Yeah, topic supporting project team performance and active listening is the key. In the PMP exam, there is a question on active listening. The best interpersonal skill to use in case of a conflict. How do you resolve a conflict? PMI will give you options such as there's a conflict A, B, C, D. They'll say use leader to resolve conflicts, use leadership. They'll say you do negotiation. They'll say facilitation. I'll say actively listen. All of them are actually right choices, but active listening is the key when it comes to resolving conflicts, right? Then PMI says, well, another way of supporting team's performance, another supporting team performance is so another, let's change the color. Another tool that can help support team performance is by communicating information using information radiators. Information radiators. Information radiators could be visual boards such as Kanban, task list, or whiteboards. Nowadays, they're calling task list as success lists. Success lists, whiteboards, Kanban boards, some information radiator, something that you can put right on the wall in a high traffic area and people can see. Easiest way to communicate, right? Information radiator should be put in a high traffic area. High traffic area. And the idea is keep them as low as possible and high touch. That is the idea of information sharing nowadays. Low tech, high touch. Use technology which supports free flow, fluid communication, and generally it is low tech. Whiteboarding, putting that information somewhere, or using tools and technology where people are able to see information, right? And it's readily available to people. That is the idea. So information radiators could be Kanban boards, whiteboards, wikis, fishbowl windows created in a virtual environment. The idea of information radiators is open communication. Open communication. Open communication, right? And keep in mind, they could be electronic and they could also be physical, like a whiteboard in a high traffic area, or they could be electronic also, right? Electronic, for example, on IT-based projects or other projects too, they're using Jira board. Even Ford is using right now Jira board and virtually communicating the information. And when you use tools where information can be easily accessible or can be easily provided, one of the important things happens, and it is you provoke conversation, open conversation and collaboration among team members, because they see information in front of them and they start communicating about it. They start talking about it. And this leads to innovation. All the companies that you will see nowadays that seem to be continuously improving, moving forward, are those organizations where there is a lot of innovation. Innovation is happening because information is readily available. Conversations are happening among the team members, and it is deliberate. It's happening, right? You don't have to. It's not deliberate. It's in autonomous mode. You don't have to push information to people in a scheduled fashion. It's available to people. They're having conversations about it, and that's what is leading to resolving problems. And there were some other topics that, as part of this lesson, there were topic F, which was training, mentoring, and coaching. I guess you can read it. It's a very simple topic here: coaching, training. Mentoring and coaching. Topic F. And
I thought we were in topic E, sir.
So we finished. So we are now going to where were we? Topic D, supporting project teams performance. So topic
Right.
E, it was communication and collaboration. So I think it should have been. So let's call this topic D, and some of the information from topic E. Topic F, I don't think I need to speak about it, but I'll talk about topic G for a couple of minutes. Topic G, conflict. Folks, on the exam, if there is a topic that warrants your attention from this lesson, it is this topic: conflicts. Managing conflicts, one of the important things that we do as PMs, right? Managing the conflicts. Now, some of the things that PMI continues to talk about is one question I already talked about today. When there is a conflict, demonstrate active listening. Listen to people at that time. Now, PMI has put together very important various conflict resolution techniques. The best conflict resolution technique is problem solving by collaboration. If you want to resolve a conflict, problem solve, right? Problem solve using collaboration with that stakeholder in question. And during that time, start with active listening. Now, there are other techniques too, but the worst way to resolve a conflict would be withdraw, which is like retreat, right? Retreat or postpone. Withdraw could be postpone the issue, postpone the issue, or retreat from a problem at hand. Retreat from a problem at hand, retreat from a situation, right? So worst way. In the exam, you will find this question, the best way to solve the worst way. And then there are other techniques. One other technique that PMI likes to ask people, and they must have talked about it too, is smoothing. Is a way of, or a method of conflict resolution where there are two parties. Let's say there are two parties right here. So we have Jay Kishan and me. Our conflict has gone to that extent where we don't even want to look into each other's eyes now, right? So we're two members, Jay Kishan and Hemant are two team members. The conflict, the difference in opinion. So conflict is nothing but a difference in opinion, but it has gone to that extent because it didn't get managed properly, where we don't even want to look into each other's eyes. One person is sitting here. What does the PM do during this time? PM is not going to say, well, guys, come on, let's talk about it and let's solve the problem. It's not going to happen right now. So what do? You steer the conversation away from the issue at hand. So you steer the conversation. You say, well, Heyman, did you watch Euro and Euro Cup? Did you watch Euro Cup? Or you could talk about any other thing. You could talk about politics. Hey, there's a debate between Trump and Biden. And are you planning to see that? This is going to be fun. If there was no comic relief in your life, it's coming now. It's coming on, tomorrow. I don't know when that debate is. So it'll be fun to see that debate. But you're going to starting talk. You're not trying to solve the problem at hand. You're talking about things of common interest, and that's what smoothing is. The idea of smoothing is talking about some areas of agreement and not talking about that issue at hand. Areas of increment and conceding a position for harmony. Smoothing, right? Now, then there is another conflict resolution technique. It used to be on the exam before. I don't know how PMI is kind of like presenting this one, but compromise. Compromise is when both parties give away some priorities. Give away priorities leads to lose situation for both. They say marriage is the greatest compromise on earth. And it's so true, right? Both parties, two human beings, if you're not going to share some priorities, our priorities, we cannot live together, right? So I don't know if Animal Kingdom seems to be but yeah. So compromises is both parties give away both parties give away some of the priorities and leads to lose situation. Problem solving creates win situations. That's why, because you solve the problem. That's why it is the best way of resolving a conflict. There would also be times when you're giving the autonomy to the team, and you're giving the team an opportunity to resolve the conflict. But the team is like, they're not able to do it. 1 meeting, 2 meetings, 3 meetings. At some point of time, the PM comes in and says, guys, what are the different alternatives that we have? All right, we are going with alternative number 2, force. So again, I would not say that that some of these techniques are good or bad, as much as I would say that the best way to resolve any conflict is to solve the problem in a collaborative fashion. But the worst is retreat from a certain situation or postpone the issue because you didn't solve anything. You could use any of these techniques, starting with trying to solve. If you can't solve, maybe trying to reach a compromise or smooth things up. And sometimes also with our team, we may say, well, guys, what are the different alternatives and why can't we come to an agreement? All right, for my experience, I think alternative 2 is the best, forcing, right? Forcing is, it's about pursuing one's viewpoint over others. Forcing also creates things such as win-lose situation. It's one party's opinion that's being considered over another party's opinion, right? Generally for PMs, it is about pursuing the PM's viewpoint at expense of others, sometimes you could say, right? So a technique that is used, so PMI and a question on, so you will have questions here, folks. You will 100% get a question here. There is a very good chance, about 60 to 80%, that some of you may get question here. There is 60 to 80% you may get this question here. There will be 2 to 3 questions from this slide here that we just built this portion of our content, right? Now, we're going to wrap up the session with this final take. This is what it is. When two parties have conflict, what do we do? There are actually 3 steps to it. Step 1, engage. So whenever we feel there is a conflict, we engage. We could schedule a meeting, ideally face-to-face. Face-to-face means keep it as real time as possible. Let's just say me and Jai Kishan again are having a conflict. What did I do as a PM? I scheduled a meeting with Jai Kishan face-to-face. I will actively listen to Jai Kishan, actively listen to my stakeholder. I will collaborate, present my point of view, and build consensus to solve the problem at hand. First step 1, engage with Jai Kishan and listen to him, actively listen, understand the problem, show empathy towards the stakeholder, right? And then I will present my point of view to Jai Kishan. You should also hear my point of view. I'll try to build consensus, solve the problem at hand. But in 1 hour, sometimes conflicts are not resolved, and there could be takeaways from this meeting. Sometimes this step 1 may lead to takeaways. As a PM, I'll try to solve these, resolve these takeaways, resolve these. And during this time when I'm not in touch with my stakeholder, now the meeting has ended, I will always, as a PM, I will always keep my stakeholder in question updated. So the meeting ended with Jai Kishan here. This meeting ended. Jai Kishan said, I got 3 or 4 takeaways. I took those takeaways, worked with other teams, but always in the morning I said, hey, Jai Kishan, don't worry about it. I'm on it. My team is on it. This will be resolved. I'll keep you posted. Just by doing that, Jai Kishan feels that, well, this team actually takes care of the stakeholders and they're keeping me updated. Trust is formed. Relationships are built. And there could also be times as a PM, let's not make a mistake here that not everything is in our authority, right? There are things sometimes which are beyond the bounds of our authority. There are things sometimes which are outside what is bestowed on us, outside the realm of our authority, outside the authority that is bestowed on us, right? So what do you do during that time? You escalate. So in the PMP exam, you will have questions drafted with certain level of information provided. For example, the question could be, you and a stakeholder have a difference in opinion or conflict. Engage, schedule a meeting. That's your answer. Now, sometimes the question would be, you and a stakeholder have a conflict. You had a meeting with them. Option B, actively listen. You and your another question scenario could be, you and your stakeholder had a meeting. In the question, they will state you are actively listening, you collaborated, nothing happened. You worked on takeaways, nothing happened. The stakeholder is still persistent. What should you do? Escalate, escalate, escalate. Memorize these 3 steps from exam standpoint. They're extremely, extremely important. I'm going to take some questions, but I'm going to stop right here. I just wanted to provide you a view of what happened in the session. I thought it will be important to discuss this session. In my session, a couple of hours, 1 hour was lost, as much as we were able to finish the application. I was supposed to do topic A, B, and C that day, and we were supposed to finish the application. However, due to technology, we couldn't complete my topics, so they've completed those topics. But I thought it would be nice to have a session, go over the things, record the session for the benefit of those who could not come and join the session due to, its unplanned nature a little bit. So I'll take some questions and then we'll call it a day. Thank you so much for your patience and joining in. It's almost 2 hours and 18 minutes. Time flies. And yeah, so let's hear some questions and we'll wrap up the session. And we can also pause the recording here, I guess.
I'm good with everything you presented so far. Thank you for taking
Awesome.
some extra time today with us.
Not at all, not at all. So it's